discussing lightsabers and the deep culture that both the Jedi and Sith had with their lightsabers. So today I wanted to explore a topic that I found really interesting that occurred before the Clone Wars began, and how some Jedi actually began using red lightsabers during this era, something that I found to be extremely intriguing. To explain exactly why some Jedi began to use red lightsabers during this era, we have to look at the wider era itself, what this era entailed, but more specifically what this era did not entail. Most notably, there were no reigning Sith Lords during this time that the Jedi Order were aware of. In secret though, you had Sith Lords such as Darth Plagueis looming from the shadows. However, in the public and to the Jedi's knowledge, there were none. In fact, the Sith Lords that last appeared were hundreds of years ago in the Brotherhood of Darkness, and the Sith Lord that stemmed from that era, or the last surviving Sith Lord, was Darth Bane, who remained hidden for the rest of his life along with the rest of his apprentices that he would take. And any Jedi that were unlucky enough to find Darth Bane, he killed in combat, meaning that no Jedi were ever aware that the Sith were still around. It's also important to look at the two distinctions between Star Wars canon and Star Wars Legends, as in canon, the color of a lightsaber is actually far more significant than it was in Legends. In fact, in Legends continuity, it wasn't uncommon for a Jedi to change their color of lightsaber several times. We've seen this various times over Star Wars, with Plo Koon switching from a blue to a yellow lightsaber, and Adi Gallia switching from a red lightsaber to a blue lightsaber, or Deepa Billaba from a red lightsaber to a green lightsaber. Basically, in Legends continuity, although the color of a lightsaber is still significant, it's not directly linked with the user of the blade, while in canon it is, as the color of the lightsaber is a direct representation of one's own stance in the Force. While in Legends, although a Jedi or Sith still formed a deep connection with their lightsaber and lightsaber crystal, it was not a direct representation of their own inner allegiance to the Force, and therefore it was more subject to change than it is in canon continuity. Basically, the main reason that before the Clone Wars era some Jedi began using red lightsabers was simply because they were being experimental, and again the color of a lightsaber was more ceremonial than actually representative of one allegiance in the Force, in Legends that is, and therefore because red lightsabers were extremely rare in the galaxy, some Jedi decided to adopt them, because in their minds the Sith were long dead. Again though, once the Sith Lords were returned in the form of Darth Maul and later Count Dooku, these Jedi would discard their red lightsabers, as they did not want to be mistaken for Sith Lords by the wider people of the galaxy, or during combat their fellow Jedi. But before, they were simply experimenting with it because the Sith Lords in their minds were a long dead order. Again, in canon though, the color of a lightsaber is taken far more seriously. It's also important to note that in Legends continuity, the color of a red lightsaber crystal typically meant that it was artificially created, or better known as a synthetic lightsaber crystal, while Jedi on the other hand utilized naturally occurring lightsaber crystals mainly from the planet of Ilum. The Jedi believed that using the synthetic lightsaber crystals is something that they should not do. However, I also want to point out, although extremely rare, it is possible for a naturally occurring crystal to create a red color, which is also what I believed happened with these lightsabers that these Jedi used, and although they were red, I believe they were naturally occurring, as again, although being extremely rare, it is possible, and the fact that they were rare could be a contributor why these Jedi wanted to wield them. But again, that's a really interesting thing that happened in Star Wars universe, and makes complete sense, as some Jedi actually began using red lightsabers before the era of the Clone Wars and Return of the Sith. It's also really representative that the Jedi were beginning to completely forget their long lost enemy. But again, this was something that was remedied once the Sith returned and the Clone Wars broke out. But what are your guys' thoughts on this, and the fact that the Jedi actually began using red lightsabers before the Clone War, and it wasn't crazy uncommon during that point in time? As always, my friends, thank you guys so much for watching. May the Force be with you, and have a great day.